Okay. So good evening, everyone. As you know, our webinar today is on vegetarian and vegan lifestyle and its impact on the ecosystem. So, we have been conducting so many webinars on animal cruelty and the issues that we face. And we thought, why not also include this? Because this indeed is one of the biggest cruelties that the animal kingdom is facing today. So we have a pro here with us. He's an ethical vegan and he is a fighter for animals. Whenever there's anyone who he is there to raise his voice for animals, create awareness when it comes to anything related to animals. He has been at the forefront of so many animal exploitative issues like, the import of penguins to the 𝘊𝗨𝗃𝗃𝗃 Zoo or the sad demise of the 𝗊𝘩𝘢𝗵𝗃𝗃. So he has led all these, and he also led one of the most successful campaigns to raise awareness for animals by conducting a 75-city simultaneous protest called India Unites for Animals. He is also an animal rescuer and he has rehomed almost 300 animals. So welcome, Anand Siva, sir. So we are really grateful to have you today. As I said, it is going to take some time. So, like I said, he's an ethical vegan. And first, I'm going to start with this. What does it mean to have a vegan lifestyle? Because I'm very sure, I know it includes more than just food. So what does it mean to have a vegan lifestyle and ethical vegan?
That's an easy question to start with. That makes life easy. So I think it's important for us to understand the topic that you've given, which says vegetarian and vegan and environment, right? Sorry. That's a little bit of a tricky statement to make because many times, very often, people think being a vegetarian, being a vegan are the same, and it's a very minor difference. What is the difference? अरे आप सिर्फ दूध नहीं पीते हो बस, right? And that's such a wrong notion to have, because if it is just sirf doodh nahi peete ho, and if it's vegan, then it's a very different game altogether, right? So it's a good question, right? It's a lot more than just being without milk or without dairy or. To me, it's a personal opinion, right? It's being vegan has nothing to do just with what I eat and what I wear and what I do, etc. It's saying, how do I think? How do I think as someone who cares for everything that is exploitative to the planet? Right? I'll tell you why. There is a lot of goodness in every religion. There's a lot of goodness in every doctrine that is there. Everybody is giving us something good to learn, right? For example, when Jains actually say, I do not eat root vegetables, it's because when I pull out that potato from the soil, I'm destroying so much of life in it, right? It's such a noble thought. It's saying, if you can think like that, why did that come? They had nothing. They had no angst against that potato, right? And that's such a delicious vegetable, such a nutritious vegetable. It's so difficult to say I will not eat a potato, right? But it comes out of the fact that when I destroy something, I do not see the goodness in it. I only see the wickedness in it. So that's what Jainism is talking about. That's how every religion has told us and taught us. But at some point in time, we moved away from using these doctrines to give us a direction in life, and we only became very possessive about it, and we started fighting over it. Mind, there are religion, there are religion, you, I, etc. We lost the core of what they all taught us. Right? So when you say vegan, it's nothing to do with saying, the moment that I tell vegan, people, immediate question they ask is, oh, what do you eat? Right? Yeah, there is more to life than eating. Bas karo. There's so much to do, right? So we have to think beyond food, right? And only when we think beyond food, we can start understanding what living a vegan lifestyle is. And the reason you need to think beyond food is because even when you think of food, you're thinking about yourself. Saying, what will I eat? What is my food? What will I do if I don't? It's all about so much about I, me, I, me. And that is what is destroying this planet. It has to be about saying, what is it that I am doing as a constituent of a large part of this universe? It's not just I being in Kharghar, I being in Navi Mumbai or one sector. It's not that geography. I'm part of the universe. And imagine if so many of us in this universe can destroy something as huge as this earth, how destructive we must be. Therefore, you need to think when you say vegan, it's not about food, it's not about a cow, it's not about a dog, it's about saying what is the lifestyle we need. Right? And you have to be conscious of the fact that anything you do is likely to destroy something somewhere. Anything you do. It's impossible to live without destroying something somewhere, whatever lifestyle you follow. Whether you are the absolutely destructive, you go on the road, you pick up a dog, you slice its throat, you drink its blood, you do the most atrocious evilry to animals, or you be the most more than just a vegan person. You don't even want to pluck the apple from the tree, or waiting like Newton under the tree for the apple to fall on its own, but you will still destroy because that apple was not probably meant for you. There would have been 200 insects on the soil waiting for that apple. So by going there and taking that apple away, you have deprived some other organisms of their food. So whatever you do, you will destruct. But whatever you do consciously should not destroy. You cannot say, I will kill for fun. You will not say, doesn't matter if even the government says no pataka for this Diwali, I will burst it. He's saying consciously I'm destroying something. So vegan lifestyle is just not about food. It's just not about cruelty to animals, because when you destroy the environment, you destroy animals, you destroy your future. Right? Which is why all environmentalists have to be vegan. And all vegans have to be environmentalists. They are not a choice. They have to coexist. You can't call yourself an environmentalist and be supporting anything that destroys the environment. And I'm going to show you some screens and some more. I'm not going to show any dirty, gory pictures, guys. For those of you who are there, I'm just going to show you just simple numbers so that we understand the extent of destruction that's happening around us, and therefore a compulsive need, even for people who are leading a vegan lifestyle purely out of food, have to go beyond it and say, what is it that I'm doing today that is consciously destroying some life, some future, somewhere? Make sense?
It does. It was actually, it's like you are telling me what I've been thinking for so long, because for me it was a step by step. Like, first it was just stopping the non-vegetarian food, and then I realized, how can I do this when I'm doing this? That is exactly what motivated me.
Good.
So now what you're saying, it hits home. So let us talk. See, even vegetarian, uh, it's easy being a vegetarian in India. It's not that tough. What when you thought that you're going to adopt this lifestyle, so what challenges did you face?
I didn't face any challenges at all, because I think I took a very conscious decision, right? There were no, it's like when I was 26, 27, and I just walked into a saloon one day and I shaved my head, right? And I had a lot of hair. Today, if I shave, nobody knows the difference. But when I was 26, which is 25 years ago, when I went and shaved, it was, I know when I come out, my family is going to make fun of me. My mother is going to scold me. There are going to be questions asked because it's not done in a typical South Indian family. But I did it consciously knowing that this will happen. So there cannot be challenges. There cannot be any regrets, because it was a decision taken with full consciousness, owning the responsibility of the decision. So when I turned vegan, I didn't have, till today, it's been close now, it will be 11 years, 12 years this April. I've not had anything called a challenge. Not when I've traveled, not when I've gone to work, not when I've had to babysit somebody in a hospital. Any circumstances anywhere in this country, including places like Bangkok and Dubai and Abu Dhabi and smaller towns in India, absolutely no. Anybody who says that it's a challenge, I had people who come and tell me, I'm in a traveling job. I said, don't tell me. Don't tell me, right? Either by taking something like about 8 to 10 flights a month, or traveling anywhere between 300, 400 kilometers in 2 days, almost every alternate week. I've traveled all forms of transport in this country. So don't tell me it's a challenge. And it's not just in India, anywhere on this planet. How can you ever find a place that does not have a fruit or a vegetable? Unless you're going to Antarctica, you bloody well don't go there, because that's not a place meant for you. But if you are in the places that are inhabited by normal human beings, there is no part in this country, this world, that you cannot get a fruit or a vegetable that you can survive. Nothing is a challenge. It's a challenge only when you consider it to be a sacrifice that you made. If you think, oh, I have given up, milk, I have given up cheese, the cow will bloody be grateful to me. Now I have to worry because I don't get a supplement or a supplement for the milk. Then there will be challenges. But you have to realize that it is not something that you have a choice. So when there's not a choice, how can there be any challenges? So I have not faced the challenge. I have not for a single moment ever thought that I had done something great by turning vegan. There are so many people who reach out to me and say, Anand, thank you so much. Because of you, I turned vegan. I keep telling them, you didn't turn vegan because of me. You turned vegan because consciously you decided to adopt a lifestyle. So I don't take credit. You take credit, but you don't get pride in it, because it is not something to be proud of. It's something that you should be doing very, very responsibly. It's like saying, I've never done pickpocket in my life. That's not something that you should be proud of. You bloody well not do it, right? So killing is not a right. Killing, saying I did not kill, is the best way to deal. Nothing to be proud of, and nothing to be made to look like you sacrifice something. Therefore, if you realize that those decisions are conscious, those decisions are responsible, those decisions are mandatory, those decisions should have been taken very, very young in life, there can be no challenge. That's the only regret I have in my life, that I did not turn vegan when I was below 20. I would have saved so many lives in the last 35 years. Otherwise, no challenges at all.
So true. I think a lot of people, who've turned vegetarian or vegan have this thing ki, why I didn't do it earlier. I could have started early. That is, so true.
Especially for me, because last 11 years that I turned vegan, I have not had to go to a doctor. I've never seen a medical specialist. I've not taken medicines for 11 years. Well, I did take a lot of medicines in my earlier days. I'd have been so happy to have lived without that.
So true. So now, please tell us the impact that a vegan lifestyle can have on the ecosystem. Like, because feeding people who are eating non-vegetarian, non-veg food, just growing it takes so much energy in the sense of when it comes to food, when it comes to land, everything. It requires so much of that. So can you tell us something about it?
It's a very, what do you call, vastly difficult question to answer in a very short thing, right? Because there are so many facets involved. You can actually take each grain, each food we eat, saying what is the impact of growing potatoes, what is the impact of growing peanuts, what is the impact of growing corn, and then going all the way to saying how does the chicken make a difference to the environment, how does the pig farm, how does the fish farm, and you could just go on and on and on. Each animal is probably a 3-day workshop. There's so much to cover, so much to do, right? I just like to take a slightly different approach to answering this, right? Especially because we got a very small audience, so there's nothing to worry about opening it up right at this stage itself. Those of you here, if there is any specific question that you want to know, but saying, sticking to the topic, saying what is the impact of something on something, or why, let's say, why fishing is detrimental to the planet. Right? I put up a question on my Facebook post yesterday. I said, do you know there is a very, very strong connection between a 2,500 dairy farm somewhere in the US and the city of Pune in India? And that the connection between these two is actually destroying your environment. Nobody knows. But that's a truth in it. I'll take. But any of you have any specific questions? I'm extremely happy to take. Otherwise, I'll just start showing you some of my statistics and bore you to death with it. Any questions, ladies and gentlemen?
You can put it on the chat.
Yeah, you can put it up on the chat, and I'm very happy to answer it for you. If you would like me to just continue with what I intended to share with you, I can start off with that. Whatever suits the small lot here. Okay, no question. Any questions coming to you? I can't.
𝘊𝘩𝘢𝘵 has raised her hand. Can you please write your question?
Is there?
Yeah.
Is there any ethical connection between sterilization of animals and veganism? Who is that? Ernie. Okay, Hirni. Where are you? Why don't I see your face? Okay. So Hirni, it's like this, right? I think the first is I want to stay to the topic. Is there any connection between ethical sterilization of animals and the environment? Right? Because the idea is not about talking just about veganism. I don't want to go into that area of ethical living alone. I want to stay in the space of the impact on environment, and sterilization has a massive impact on environment, right? It's like this. What have we done? Primarily, we are doing a lot of sterilization only with dogs and cats, right? Nobody talks about sterilization of elephants, and nobody talks about sterilization of deer and bison and all of that, right? Why are dogs and cats so important, and why is the sterilization a point of contention only with these two animals? It's a lot to do with the environment, right? We have started taking up so much of the open space in urban centers. We have urbanized so many of the rural plots. So what have you done? You've taken away the territory that belonged to these dogs. Right? The dogs are good hunters. They can chase a prey and they can eat on their own. But we have converted them over the years into scavengers. Right? We have made them, forced them to eat out of dustbins and overflowing garbages and from garbage bags and outside cafeterias. So we have occupied so much of space, and we have made easy food available to them. So they don't really need to struggle to get food. They just need to know exactly which cafeteria, which canteen, which hotel, which wedding hall, and they will land up there, and they know they will get food on a regular basis. And therefore, they've started breeding excessively beyond the availability of food. So there's a problem of food versus dogs, and therefore they're multiplied geometrically to the extent that there isn't enough food available for them. Therefore, they are constantly running between roads, they're crossing roads, they're going past vehicles, they're chasing vehicles, they're chasing people only because they want food. They want to survive. And therefore, it becomes the right thing to do to sterilize them and bring their population under control, only to ensure at some point in time the balance between the number of we can sterilize and the number of rebirths that we can stop, we are able to control the dog population. So it's not the right, is it an unethical thing to do? It is an unethical thing to do to the dog. It is a very ethical thing to do to dogs, because we are ensuring that by keeping the population in control, the dogs that don't breed are able to eat. And in my opinion, like many of us would agree, it's much better to go without breeding than go without food. And therefore, it's important to do it, because hungry dogs are dangerous. They could get into deep fights. They could injure each other. They could chase down people who are buying. Let's say they are buying chicken and coming down. They will attack, because food is a very desperate situation for people to act funny. And therefore, dogs will do that as well. So I think it's ethical. And I think there's nothing, I wouldn't think twice about sterilizing.
So we have another question as well. How does beer fit in a vegan lifestyle?
Anand Siva, I'm hoping that is the only thing that is stopping you today from going vegan. If I get you vegan beer, you should probably go vegan tomorrow, right? Well, technically, Anand, it's a very, anecdotal question, and also has an anecdotal answer, but also has a serious twist to that, right? Many of the liquors technically don't fall into the vegan lifestyle, because there is forced, compulsive, and industrial breeding of bacteria to ferment the liquor. Right? Therefore, it is as good as breeding cows or breeding cats or breeding chicken. Therefore, so you are technically breeding a kind of species of microorganisms that help you ferment the sugar molasses to convert them into liquor. So is that the right thing to do? Yes. Yeah. No, it's not. Right. But are there vegan beers available, which means they don't use any life form to ferment and they do it through a very different process? Yes, there are. Heineken has two types of beer that are fully vegan. Budweiser has three types of beer that are vegan. Kingfisher, I don't think has anyone. I think Bira has a vegan option. There are lots of liquors, not just beer. For those of you who are more of the vodka fans and the old monk fans, etc., there are options available. But in a way, I'm a wrong person to give you any kind of advice because I've never tasted any of these in my life. I get high just watching a lot of animals, so I don't need liquor.
Nice one.
Okay, but one more question. Where does veganism as an ideology figure in the... Wow. Who's Anusha Narayan? Anusha, that's not a question I want to take up right now, especially since we should focus on the environment. But if we don't have enough topics to cover, or if any of us is feeling bored, that's a favorite subject of mine. Happy to discuss that. But let's focus on impact of environment on environment, or I can look at reverse, saying what is happening to the environment and how can veganism support it or correct it for us.
Yes.
My God, Anusha, how many serves?
We can take that question.
Any other question? No, right?
No.
Okay. So, how do I share screen now? Okay, here it is. So, I put up some very simple statistics for those of you who are still here. I thought I'll share some of these numbers and these details with you to see how it works, right? And the reason I'm putting up this first is because a lot of people consider vegetarians to be as good as vegans in their lifestyle. Like I said, right, तुम लोग सिर्फ दूध नहीं पीते हो type of reactions, right? But it's important to realize that just as much as a chicken eater or a fish eater or a mutton eater or a beef eater destroys the environment, anybody who endorses the dairy in any small bit is doing great injustice to the environment, apart from the injustice to the animals, right? I mean, this picture itself is a very, very clear indicator of the extent of cruelty that happens in dairy farm, right? But this is not the forum for it. I don't want to talk about that right now. But I want to talk about, so if you see this, right, there are close to about 120 cows in what is called as the carousel, right? This is a dairy farm in Illinois. Okay. What happened?
Yes.
Okay. So here is something that I put up, right? What does this mean? The extent of land required for a liter of milk is about 96 square feet, right? So which means that it takes into account the land required for the cow. No, it's not required, it is used. Okay. How much does a cow take up space today? It takes up close to about 96 square feet of space. And this 96 square feet of space is taking into account all the space that is required for storage of milk, for all of that together, right? It needs a land of 96 square feet. The next highest is rice milk. Is oats milk, which needs just less than 10% of that space. So which means as you increase dairy consumption, you have to increase the amount of land that is required for the dairy farms, for the food that is grown for the cows, for all of that together. So every liter of milk, you have to now equate it, whether you are a vegan or not. When you look at your neighbors buying it, when you see all that milk in the stores that you go by, every liter of land has to be translated to 95 square feet of space, right? As against something like a soy milk that is about 7.5 square feet to a rice milk that is 3.5 square feet, right? But there's another number to this. Now, how much water does it take? 1 liter of cow's milk needs about 628 liters of water to be used in various parts of the cow's life, the milk pasteurization, the milk being processed, and so on and so forth. So 1 liter of milk comes to you at the cost of 96 square feet of land and 628 liters of water. That's precious. 628 liters of water for just 1 liter of milk. And look at rice milk, right? Close to 300 liters of water for just 1 liter of rice milk. So you bring it down to something like a soy milk or an oats milk. Why does it make a lot more sense to be using that? Because the very attack on nature at the very inception stage of the product is marginalized. So 628 liters of water for producing 1 liter of milk as against 28 liters of water for producing 1 liter of soy milk. How can vegetarians not be destructive to nature when they are contributing so much of destruction? And it doesn't end there, right? It goes on. If any of you have any questions on this, otherwise I'll show you. I'll just run through all the other data that I have for us to discuss today. Any questions? I've got my eyes on the screen, and I'm also looking at somebody who sent a WhatsApp message to me on this. Let me see what. Okay. Okay, shall I move? Have you received any questions?
There is one. 𝘊𝗧𝗵𝗂𝘆 has raised her hand, and there is one question. There is a huge economy and livelihoods in the non-veg area. What happens to those?
Who's asked that?
Sanjeev Kumar.
Hi, Sanjeev. Sanjeev, that's a very expected question that we are often asked about the number of people who are dependent on these animals for their livelihood, on these industries for their livelihood. And you're right about it. It's a very, very huge industry. And I would want to correct you. It is not just the people who live out of dairy farms and slaughterhouses and meat processing industries, etc. The entire medical industry survives on this. Because if all of us turn vegan and all of us lived lives like many of us do, which is 10 years of not going to a hospital, not having medicines, not seeing a doctor, the medicine industry is in a state of collapse, right? Therefore, it is a problem, and it is a question that is often asked. I can answer this in two parts, and one is first a question back to you, and the other one is an answer to that, right? The first question back to you is, if we were so worried about livelihoods, if we really cared about people's livelihoods and we were adamant about not letting people struggle to make their living, we shouldn't have brought in machines. We shouldn't have brought in cars. We shouldn't have brought in power looms. We should not have brought in computers, aeroplanes. We should have said, let everything be a human-driven economy. Let's not bring in mechanization. Hundreds of thousands of factories, hundreds and thousands of machines, the robots, so many conveyor systems, so many assembly line processes, they've all replaced human element. A packet of milk in a factory like a Nestle can start from the factory end and go out as a packaged dabba without any human intervention. Just imagine if all of that could be done by humans. There will be so much employment. Why aren't we fighting for that? Why aren't we saying get rid of the machines? We are talking about something that's even more serious. Now, coming back to the answer, which will answer both these questions, right? If we continue to prioritize human need, which is earning, livelihood, business, economy, profit, corporate structures, etc., over environment, it is not a decision that we have to take. It is not a choice. There are hundreds of ways of making people earn their livelihood. There is only one way of keeping this planet. You cannot put anything else on priority. There will be struggles. I'm not saying that people should be asked to go. We can't slaughter people along with the animals. We have to find a way, but we have to find it because there is a need. And I will actually, if you will be patient enough to hang around for a while, I'll show you some numbers that will actually come and tell you why taking away these animals is not going to mean that there are people who are going to starve. It's going to change everything on its face, Sanjeev, because you will now realize that you can make incredible amount of food available. You will open up incredible opportunities in making this food reach people. You will discover the number of people who will spend less and therefore will not need these kinds of livelihoods. Everything will change on its face if we can open our eyes and look at it without the bias of human selfishness. We need to look at this as an environmental compulsion. It's not a need. It's not something that we have time to do. It's something that we should have done 25 years ago. We are late. So we cannot prioritize livelihoods over environment. We do not have a choice.
So there's another question.
Yep.
What exactly is taken into account when these calculations are made?
Who's asked that?
Hirni.
It takes into account a lot of stuff, which is there is a proportionate amortization of land for saying if it is 1 liter of milk that is required, how much of food does the cow need and where does that food come in? So how much of land is required for the food to be grown? What is the extent of land required for that dairy farm, for all the processing units to be put up? It takes into account all of that land that is required for that one. So it's like this. If I have a 2,500 cow farm and I know how much land I require, how much of food will they require, how much land I require to grow that food, how much land I require to set up a processing plant, all of that is taken into account to arrive at these numbers. There are a lot of these studies, a lot of these books available for validation if you want to go through them. These are all authenticated numbers. Did I move?
No, sir.
Any question? No, right?
No more. No.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. This is something interesting, right? We'll continue to look at water, right? Again, for every, whatever it is, in whatever form you want to see it, in whatever area you want to cover this. Sorry, somebody's sending me a question again here. Can you guys please send those of you who know me and have my number, please be kind enough to send a question on the chat, because I'm taking my eyes away from the screen and looking into this. Okay. So let's look at this now. If you need 1 kilo of meat or 1 kilo of apples or 1 kilo of eggs, what is the water requirement for that? Okay, we are now moving from just milk, we are now getting into solid food. Okay, look at that. So to produce 1 kilo of bovine meat, which could be beef where it is allowed, buffalo meat, could be goat, could be sheep, it could be camel, could be pork. No, not pork. Pork is separate. Yes, pork is separate. It takes 15,500 liters of water for 1 kg of this meat. Any of you would like to guess how much it would be for the last one out there for apples? How much water does it take to produce 1 kilo of apples? Let's have some numbers.
$100.
100. Okay.
Someone who says 100. 1,000.
Okay.
Next we have 1,000.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Sanjeev says 1,000. He meant 1,000, not 100.
Not 100. Okay.
1,000, yeah.
So Sanjeev, take a look at this. It's already come down to 5,000 just for cheese, right? So 1 kilo of cheese takes about 5,000 liters of water. Remember, 1 liter of milk needed 628 liters of water. Now, 1 kilo of cheese needs 5,000 liters of water. It's 4,800 liters for a kilo of pork. In fact, there's a lot of discussion about pork. Yesterday, I did a webinar about animal cruelty in food. Where does the food come from? And we had a long discussion on pork. Something as simple as an egg. What is the hen doing? The hen was eating ordinary food, laying the egg and going on with her life, incubating them. Today we spend 3,300 liters of water to get out a kilo of eggs. So 1,800 liters of water for a kilo of soy. 1,300 liters for your cereals. Okay. Now, Sanjeev, your 1,000 mark has to, we have to see whether you're going below the 1,000 mark or above the 1,000 mark. Potatoes are 900 liters of water for a kilo of potatoes. Now, apples is only 700. Twenty times more than a kilo of apple is what you need for your meat. How can we ever turn a blind eye to the extent of destruction that this does? 15,500 liters of water for a kilo of meat, as against 700 for a kilo of apples. We just can't afford to do this, right? Now let's look at this I'm going to be staying on this for a while, right? For those of you who have still not turned vegan, those of you who are still on the wall, those of you who are finding it difficult to fight with your family, your colleagues to explain why. And what are the reasons that we started off saying, why is my regret that I didn't start to get into the vegan lifestyle 25 years ago, right? Imagine a 20-year-old turning from a meat-eating diet to a vegan diet at the age of 20 over a lifespan. Let's look at what the impact she has on croplands. Croplands is land that is taken over for the purpose of growing crops for animal feed, right? So typically,
Sir,
yeah.
There is one question on the previous
What is the question?
slide. It's can you explain how do you arrive at the 15,000 liter water for 1 kg of meat? Like
So who's asked for that?
Sanjeev.
Sanjeev, can I send you a link to that, please? It's a very it's a white paper document available through a lot of studies, etc. If you are part of this and you can send your email link to Shrinkala or on the chat, I'm happy to share that with you. These are not numbers that I have arrived at. These are numbers that I have brought together from collated studies. Is that okay, Sanjeev?
Yes, he has shared his email ID.
I'll send that, Sanjeev. Yeah. So can we come back to this? So impact of a 20-year-old switching to a vegan diet, right? So you need about that person, had he not switched to a vegan diet as a meat eater, would be responsible for close to 1,273 cubic meters of land, as against just 126 cubic meters of cropland for the vegetables and fruits and nuts he or she will eat. 1,273 to 126, which means it's almost what, 10% of the cropland that you will need because you changed your diet. What is your contribution to greenhouse gas emissions as a vegan, right? What would have been your contribution over a period of time? 900 kilograms, and that's down to just 33 kilograms. That's again what? Minuscule, right? It's not even 10%, right? 10% would have been 90, and about 3%. Sorry. A lot of people don't understand the impact of nitrogen fertilizers. Nitrogen oxide, nitrogen in many forms is one of the largest destroyers of our ecosystem. And I have one more component coming on that, right? Your contribution is about 12 kgs of nitrogen fertilizer. These are all per year, okay? Down to just 0.7 kg. And if we are able to inculcate a very strong behavior of organic farming and organic growing, you can actually get rid of that 0.7 kg as well, right? And that's the impact of shifting over from point A to point B, right? We often underestimate the cost of meat. What does it take? How much water? How much land? What does it take to do that? Right? When you start equating, when you look at everything in these ways, right? Like I said, look at that liter of milk, and please remember 98 square feet of land. Remember 628 liters of water. When you look at that 1 kilo of cheese, remember it's 5,000 liters of water. 5,000 liters of water is one full syntax tank in any city, right? And then if you start looking at the impact it has on the environment, you start recognizing why it's not just for the animals, it's not just for your health. It's absolutely non-negotiable to go vegan. I saw something flashing. Somebody asked a question.
Yes, sir. So, Sanjeev is asking, what is the data that you are actually, it says those claims or data is from where? Basically, the methodology.
Sorry, come again. This, why am I
The-
not able to see? How do I
Hello?
see it myself? It may be better to read it. I'm not able to read
It's
it.
on the chat. If
Yeah,
you
but
can.
it's not showing me there. It's just showing me a blank screen on chat. Okay, just read it again, please.
Yeah, it says, what is the methodology through which these data have been, derived at? How have they come to this conclusion with the data? What is the methodology used?
Yeah, I would share that with you, Sanjeev. I thought we spoke about that. He's asked the same thing again, right?
So he's saying he wants a brief explanation, if you can give here about it, if it's possible.
So, Sanjeev, I'll tell you how it works, right? In fact, there are real live calculators on the web that you can go there, and you can start off with something as simple as say, what is it that you eat? Let's assume that you want to put in, you eat chicken twice a day, or you eat chicken thrice a week. You have so many liters, so many cups of coffee, you have so many eggs for breakfast. You can do all of that. It will actually do a real-time calculation. It will show you the energy consumption or the land consumption or most of these numbers that I've spoken about. And then it actually tells you how each of that has been calculated, right? So what it takes into account is when you say, I'll give you an example, right? Let's say 15,500 liters of beef. It takes into account there is first, it's taken account on the basis of the life of the animal that is killed, right? So let's say it's a cow that is born in a dairy farm and slaughtered over a period of time. What does it take for the cow to be kept alive inside that farm? Now, to keep that cow alive there, what is the amount of food that is required for that cow, and what does it take to grow that food? Now, having grown that food, what does it take for people who are dependent on that farm to grow the farm? So there are 5 people who have to spend 6 months there to grow that. There is water that they will consume, right? So for whether it's potatoes or meat, there is water being used in various forms. And then there is, just for your information, Sanjeev, processing of meat is a very, very water intensive process. So it's not just cutting meat and packaging it. It's the cleansing it goes through, the amount of washing it takes to clean the place. All of that is taken into account to finally. So this is what is called as farm to fork, right? From the time it is farmed, it is grown, and to the time it actually reaches your plate. What are the processes involved? How much energy does it take? How many trucks are moving around? It takes into account all of those constituents. It's a very, very well, well thought through working, which is available in an open, transparent system for all of this. So I'm not seeing anything flashing. I hope he's still there and he's.
No, he's here. Yeah, but there's no question related to the methodology as
I
well.
will share the link with you. He's given his email ID, right?
Yeah.
Now, okay. Now this is very interesting question, right? This is where I wanted to connect a dairy farm, 2,500 farms, the cows in a dairy farm anywhere in the world, right? With something to do with something in India, right? What does it got to do? Just the daily excreta of 2,500 cows. Just this. So next time somebody wants to swear at somebody saying bullshit, remember these numbers. We are responsible for all of this, right? And now, why is this important? It's not just about the excreta, right? There are two big, very, very big problems coming out of this, right? For those of you who are not, who are probably not aware, at any given point in time, we have anywhere between 1.2 to 1.4 billion animals in livestock, bovines, right? 1.4 billion. So when they give out so much of excreta, so there are two kinds of excreta, right? One is when they, whatever comes out after their food, which is cow dung, and when they fart and all of this. The other one is when they burp a lot because they're given a lot of different food. And that's what gives out methane and nitrogen oxide coming out, right? The problem is all of this is going into our soil, going into our water bodies, and going into our oceans. So there is incredible contamination of air, water, and soil. That's the first problem. The second problem is the extent of methane that is coming out, that is trapping heat gases on planet, which is one of the largest contributors to global warming. Right? So it's not seen as a major problem because we don't see it happening. We don't understand the number of animals that are there in captivity. We don't understand the extent of this excreta that can get created in just one concentrated place, and the fact that there is no other way of treating them or getting rid of them. So there is incredible seepage that's happening and contaminating our natural resources. And it comes back to hit us because of all the diseases that come out of contaminated water, bad soil, therefore more organisms in the soil, and therefore more fertilizers, and therefore more chemicals, and so on and so forth. So it's a cyclic, vicious cycle that we have got ourselves into because of this incredible amount of animals in captivity. Okay.
So there is a question.
Mhm.
Sarika wants to know, what about all the other existing cows in or outside the dairy farm?
Okay.
So-
What does that mean? I didn't understand the question.
I think what she means by this is like the animals are there, whether inside or outside.
Yeah. Yeah.
It says that the number is same. So the excreta is going to.
Oh, the number is not the same at all, Sarika, right? Because the number of animals in captivity at any point in time kept for human food is anywhere between 30 to 40 times more than animals in the wild. We do not have this kind of animals outside the farms, number one. Number two, there is never such a huge concentration of animals in a small area. You know, yesterday I was giving a lecture session on pigs, right? In India, the average size of a pig farm that they're planned for, that they're constructed for, is about 200. But at any point in time, their stock is a minimum of 350. So when you have 350 pigs in one place and there is so much of concentrated excreta coming out of a single location, it's like a factory chimney giving out so much of methane. It is a single place of generating this amount of excreta. Whereas in the wild, it doesn't happen in a central point. It gets distributed over a large area. There are cow dung beetles. There are 100 organisms that convert that into very, very rich nutrition for the soil. None of that processes are done here. Also, please remember, this excreta is not as nutritious as the animals in the wild because this is all coming out of artificial food. They are not being given the right food. It is coming out of highly antibiotics and mycotoxin loaded food. Therefore, it's more harmful and cannot be compared to the excreta of animals eating natural food in their natural habitat. There's a big difference. They can't even be compared. It's not even like it's 20%. It's a veil of a difference because this cow dung is loaded with chemicals. Okay?
Yes. So also, like I just want to say something. We keep forgetting that the number of cows and dairy that we have today, it's because there is a need for the milk, milk products. They don't breed in this number. It's because there's a need. That is why the number is so huge. And if you can see
we need to remember that these animals are now factory products.
Exactly.
There is nothing natural. They are not born naturally. They are not grown naturally. They are not bred naturally. They don't mate naturally. They don't lactate naturally. They don't give birth naturally. They don't die naturally. Nothing in that animal's life is today controlled by nature, except that it is born with two horns and its construct of the body, its physiological construct is kept. Everything else is controlled. In fact, to the extent that we today even have
people. You're forgetting this.
Yes, right. Also, the fact that today there is genetic modification to ensure that you have more female calves than male calves. Right. In fact, Prime Minister Modi went on record when he inaugurated the National Dairy Farm in what is that place called 𝘩𝗲𝗴𝗏, and he said this laboratory is going to ensure that farmers can have more female calves so that they can take care of their livelihood. So we have gone on record. So there is nothing that is remotely natural about animals kept in captivity. They don't eat normal food. There is nothing natural. Therefore, what comes out is also not natural. Shall I go?
Yes.
Okay. Right. So these cows or these bovines, goats, whatever they are, wherever they are, there are two powerful gases that they give out. We often see every time we talk of dangerous gases, global warming, people are very quick to say, oh, you have a car, oh, you take a flight, or you use an air conditioner, use a refrigerator, laptops give out, gases, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. But what is the reality? The first reality is that cow excreta, animal excreta gives out very, very harmful methane and very, very harmful nitrous oxide, right, in huge numbers. And how do you equate it? It's a very, very simple one. Just one cow gives out methane equivalent to 8 cars. So if you say, I want to stop contamination of air and I'm not going to take my car out, and you go back and you have dairy, you have chicken, you have meat, you do whatever, you have done nothing to the planet, my friend. All you've done is you made yourself feel good that you've done something for the environment, because your contribution to methane when you bring any of these foods home is many times more dangerous, more toxic, more intense than that one car you did. I'm not, for that moment, I'm not saying let's not worry about the car, but I'm saying we need to look deeper and understand how we are spoiling the rest of it. There's no point in being very superficial about saying I've now moved from Bharat Gas 3 to Bharat Gas 4 to Bharat Gas 6, and therefore I'm being good to the environment. If all of that is helping us, Delhi should not be struggling with so much of fire gloom over it right now. Right? Why are we struggling? Why are we quickly blaming farmers for stubble burning? There is so much more that we're doing that we don't realize, and we don't want to open up because we want to do things that are more convenient to us. It's more easy to say, I will not take the car than to say, I will go vegan. Right? It's a matter of convenience. Right? But why do we do all of this? Right? Now let's look at this. Why do people fight to eat meat? Why do they want to eat meat? Because they say it's rich in protein. I want protein. I want protein. I'm a bodybuilder. I'm this, I'm that. I will die without protein. I need protein. But at what cost does that protein come? Again, I'm repeating, I have no intentions of getting into the health aspect of protein. Right? That's a separate conversation altogether. I can sort of define the thought on it. Right? So for all the animals in US alone, for their livestock, they are fed close to 41 million tons of plant protein. We make this very anecdotal statement when people ask, what do I do? I need protein. That is why I eat a bull or a buffalo. The question we ask is, what the hell is the buffalo eating? The buffalo is not eating another animal for protein. right? The animal that gives you protein is actually getting it out of plant. So how is it possible that a bull or a cow or a bison or an ox can get protein from plant and you can't get? There's something very, very wrong, right? So just to produce this little quantity of animal protein, right? What do? We spend 41 million tons, right? And what does it actually translate? Right? It takes 6 kg of plant protein as food to produce just 1 kilo of animal protein. Right? Which goes back to that question that was saying, what happens if all the livelihoods of people who are dependent on animals is all taken away, etc. There is so much of farming to do. Get out of those farm factories, get out of all that bloodshed, get out all of that negative energy, go out to the soil, go out to the sunshine, grow plant protein. So this is another question that's always asked, right? Every time we say this, people say, oh, if all of us went vegan, we won't have enough food. Have you heard that before? We can't afford to do it. All of us need to, balance it out. If I start going vegan, you will not have food to eat. They make it look like they are eating meat so that I get food. It's like a big sacrifice they're doing.
We've
right?
also heard, no, ki if we stop, if everyone stop eating non-vegetarian, then there are going to be animals all around us. Their population will grow.
Yeah.
That's a very common argument.
So let's look at numbers on that front, right? So will we really starve? Will we really run out of food if all of us turn vegan? Please remember, we are only about 7.5 billion people, right? What is this? Do you have any idea what this is? This is again 7 billion, right? This is the population of animals in livestock in the United States of America. Okay, it takes into account all the animals kept for food. It takes the cows, it takes the bulls, the buffaloes, the goats, the sheep, the pigs, the turkeys, and the hens and the chicken. So 7 billion animals at any point in time are kept in livestock. Now, if you took the population of the United States of America, what is 5x? The 7 billion animals in livestock in America consume 5 times the grain that all of America would need to eat. So it takes into account corn, it takes into account oats, it takes into account all the food. So whatever is available or required to feed Americans, you need 5x of that to keep those 7 animals in livestock fed. Now, how can we say when we go vegan, we will not have, because you have so much of land available to grow those grains. You're spending so much of water to grow those grains anyway. We are not even looking at the water you will save when you take off these animals off this planet. You're talking plainly of the extent of water required to grow these grains. You need to just grow 1/5 of the grain for a country like the US. And you will have the water. It is a very, very clear writing on the wall for environmental decision making. Anybody who argues against this because food is difficult to change, lifestyle is difficult to change, life skills are important to change, or people's livelihoods cannot be changed, is being foolish. Because there is so much of water, so much of energy getting used across. Why? I'm going to come to this now, right? Quickly, I'm just taking in the interest of time, right? What we are,
Yes.
right? We will not have fish in 2048 in our oceans. And the oceans cannot maintain global temperatures if you don't have them. We need them. They are as important as water and air. Because when there is no fish there is no generation of oxygen, there is no life in the oceans. But why are we losing the fish? This is why we are losing the fish. Every second, we catch about 800 kilos of fish. This is a live ticker that is running in our oceans. Every second we are fishing 800 kilos of fish. So we are destroying. So on one side, we are destroying water. On one side, we are destroying soil. We are destroying our air. And we are also destroying our oceans. So if we're going to be depleting, so we are now depleting at a pace that is far, far faster than the ability of these fishes and these animals to breed inside. Because please remember, with temperatures going up, there is also a great threat to their own breeding. So we are reducing their breeding capabilities. We have increased the amount of fish that we take out of the oceans, that we're going to be running out of fish. We're going to be empty oceans with just plastic in it in 2040. And that's just 28 years away. It's not like it's some 300 years away that you have a lot of time to change. You are just 28 years away from total destruction of life in our oceans. Okay. I'm just going to run through this. I don't want to take too much of time. When you move from fossil fuel to hybrid fuel, quickly, you reduce 1 ton of carbon dioxide. Okay. All of this is in a year. When you move from a non-veg diet to a vegan diet, you reduce 1.5 tons of carbon dioxide. Okay, now here is a very simple thing. I'm just taking, for those of you who are meat eaters, chicken eaters, right? Let's assume that you eat chicken every day of your life. In a week, you eat chicken 7 days a week. If you just knocked off chicken from 1 day of the week, so which means instead of 7 days, you say, I will eat chicken only 6 days. You know what the impact is? It's the equivalent of taking 50,000 cars off the road. If every person takes chicken off his plate just 1 day a week, it is equivalent to taking 50,000 cars off the road. Okay.
There's so much to cover. You're so right, sir. When we were talking, there's so much to cover. I think we should definitely do a part 2.
It's not a part 1, part 2 at all. It needs to be broken down, saying impact of cattle, impact of chicken, impact of food, impact of health. It can go on and on. It's one lecture every week for 53 weeks. We still won't cover all of it. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
I didn't want to talk. I just wanted to show numbers for people who asked about details, etc. I'm happy to share those numbers. These are all, in fact, some of these numbers have been taken from the United Nations Environment Study report also. They've, of course, quoted another study from which I picked up these numbers, but happy to have all of these numbers available to people who would like to go back and validate them.
Sir, I think there's one question. You've already answered all the questions that I had. Okay. But there's this one thing where they say that organic products cost double the amount.
Sorry, come again.
It's not a question, it's a statement which says organic produce costs double the amount. And also for, vegan food, like in that sense, people have a concept that vegan food costs more than the normal food.
So there are two questions you're asking. One is organic food is costlier than chemical produced food. The second question
I think this comes from basically that mindset that most people have, that when we are shifting to something like this, it's costlier. Like at Starbucks, if you ask for a vegan milk, it's costlier.
So it's like this. So whoever raised this about organic food, right? I've been eating organic food for about 8 years now, and we actually buy it from a farm. A friend who's become a friend now, who grows food there. So the cost at which he was giving us 4 years ago, and the cost that he's giving us today has come down dramatically because he's now got more customers. He's increased the land area. He's increased his growing. Today he calls up and says, I'm sorry, I'm out of stock, right? And when we compare prices, especially now, I don't know how many of you are buying onions at what rate, but just today I got my lot of 2 kilo onions at 75 rupees a kilo, right? So when you start helping, working with these farmers, so we have given him a lot of our contacts. We have taken it under our fold to give him more people buying from him. And as he started growing from 20 to 30 to about 75 customers today, his price is on par. He's not saying I'm organic and therefore I'm pricing it on par with what Nature's Basket is pricing it. It's not expensive. Encourage local farmers, talk to them. They will give it to you at extremely economical rates. It's only when organic gets packaged into a brand and gets into supermarkets where it's become a style statement that you will see those expensive numbers coming in. Or in exotic foods, when people want to give you organic avocados and organic apples and all of it. Don't fall for all of that. Your regular food, which is your palak and your bindi and your bangan and all of your pumpkins and your potatoes, are not expensive at all. And I can share my last 6 or 8 purchases bills with you to show you how much I pay per kilo. It's not at all expensive. Just to give you a quick one, how much, I don't know, how much does a kilo, a non-organic kilo of apples cost today? I don't know how much they cost, but I'll tell you how much I paid. I paid 300 rupees a kilo. Do they cost 150 in the outside market today? I'm not too sure, but if somebody, if any of you know, I'll be happy to know that number. Right? So it's not expensive if you don't, if you follow the right logic of buying. And the question of vegan lifestyle being more expensive, again, is very, very, very wrong. You do not spend more money. You save a lot of money, and you also will lead a healthier life. Let's, for heaven's sake, get out of this thinking on money from what we pay for. We need to also calculate money that we don't pay for. So not only has my diet been less expensive than cooked food, because I don't have oil. The biggest cost component today, I don't need to buy oil. I don't need to fry. I have so many options available that I can do without getting into all of those expensive foods. Right? So the first thing is that I do not spend more on food. I spend a lot lesser. I probably spend 35-40% less than I would if I weren't a vegan. And the other factor is I do not spend, I'm telling you guys, the last 11 years, I've not paid a rupee, anything more than my dog's vet visits to a doctor. So even if you said you spend about 1,500, 2,000 rupees on doctor visits and your medicines, etc., it's nowhere near 1,500, but assuming it's about 5,000 a year, 10 years I've saved 50,000. I'm very happy to pay a premium for organic if I must, because I'm anyway saving money somewhere else. So get into this. It's not as you think. It's not expensive. Don't go into fancy restaurants. Don't go looking for fancy food. Don't go into expensive supermarkets. Go to your local guy. Get the food you need. I promise you, it's cheaper, it's healthier, it's better.
Yeah. True. Sir, I think we'll conclude today, and I definitely think we should have another session on this.
Yeah, but we need more promotion to get more participants, get more questions, yes, like how Sanjeev was asking us. We need to be challenged and we need to be learning from these questions.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
I only wish we had more people, because we need more people to save this environment. 10 of us can't do it. Okay. Thank you all. Yes. Thank you, Shrinkala.
Thank
for
you
taking
so much
the risk
for
of calling me for the second time.
Thank you so much. And yeah, we'll definitely do a next session on this.
See you. Bye. Yeah. Good night, everybody. Stay safe. Be happy.
Good night.